G'day YouTube, how the heck we doing? It is Foul Play here and we're back for another Pauper League. So this league we're going to be cutting Citizen Training out completely. Previously this is a supplemented Rancor or replaced Rancor in 2-2 splits. I think I even tried it as a 4 of once. Mostly I was playing around with it as a replacement for Spirited Companion because I'm not really that in love with that card. It has other niches which are quite handy, such as helps mitigate the card disadvantage of Lotus Petal. It gives you an extra cantrip off the Crufix's inside if you're to pick up a Citizen Training with it. So overall it's a reasonable idea, but I'm going to move past it for this league and go back to just testing the explosiveness of Rancor, that extra power that it provides, all of that. Outside of that, I've gone for the full play set of Cartouche, mostly because Chainer's Edict is going back up in prevalence again, and I want something to help counteract that. An Ancestral Mask, we've got it 3 copies, just because it's a little bit clunky having 8 3-drops in your deck. And in most cases, particularly when versing Burn, Armadillo Cloak is going to be the more relevant finisher. So in our sideboard as well, there's a little bit of action. We're going for the full 4 Scattershot Archers. It looks like Fairies is creeping back up in the metagame again, so we better be prepared for that deck because it is a horrible matchup without Scattershot Archer. Outside of that, we got 3 copies of Crimson Acolyte, 2 copies of Standard Bearer, 2 copies of Young Wolf, down from 3. We got good main deck protection, and I'd rather have like the 4 and the 2 rather than the 3-3 split. And finally 2 copies of Flaring Pain. Gonna like stop those fog decks right in their tracks. Crufix's Insight, which we touched on before. Quite a handy one, I find. It's quite good in the like Dawnbringer Ephemerate matchups. Because Dawnbringer Cleric plus Ephemerate is like 3 enchantments destroyed, and Crufix's Insight reloads your hand, which is pretty handy. And it can do so without access to white mana too, which is quite relevant mana base wise. Alright, that's everything for the deck tech. Let's get into the league. Match number 1 versus Angus. We won the die roll and fantastic start to the league with good mana and really good enchantments. Alright, our opponent has also kept 7 cards, so we'll just play our Slippery Scout and get into it. Okay, looks like a potential Fairies matchup right off the bat. I think mostly they've moved away from playing Delver for, is it River Murktide, the flash creature that gives -2 power. But it looks like this player is playing with Delver. I mean, they might not be Fairies, but that's the immediate deck that comes to mind. Lotus Petal. Well, Lotus Petal doesn't help us for this turn. However, we do get a nice... Oh, I guess we could Lotus Petal the Abundant Growth and then play around... Like, get that extra power on the battlefield. Brainstorm on the Delver. Sure. Wow, and after all of that, our opponent fizzled on the Delver trigger? I guess we'll take that. That seems pretty good for us. Plays up Mountain. Chain Lightning. Alright, well, this is going to be a pretty good matchup for us. Attacking with the Delver. Rancor is like an extremely nice draw as well, because more power is quite nice. And our opponent concedes. All right. Not too shabby. Let's get into sideboarding. Okay, so here we can see an Izzet Delver list from, unfortunately, about, 8 months ago, something like that. Still, we can see the basic ideas of the deck. It's got creatures of Delver of Secrets, Augur of Bogles, and Tolarian Terror. Usual antics of like Brainstorm for a counterspell, maybe Preordain as well. Removal in form of Lightning Bolt and Scred. And then Permission in form of counterspell. Lose Focus and potentially Spell Pierce. In the sideboard, this doesn't seem like a hugely up-to-date sideboard guide. There is potential for Curfew, which is quite bad for us. Outside of that, there could be, the likes of Annul, the likes of End the Festivities, so that's what we're going to keep in mind. Reminder guys, if you enjoy this video, find it entertaining or informative, please consider subscribing. Alright, so Crimson Acolyte I think is going to be pretty important here. It could get blown out by like an Echoing Truth or something. I'm not really expecting that. Crew fixes Insight to battle through the counter magic, taking out Lotus Petal and one Silhana Ledgewalker. Okay, so we see this hand. This hand looks pretty decent to me. We'll go ahead and keep this. We'll see what our first draw is. It might be worthwhile turn 1 Utopia Sprawl. That can lose tempo on playing into an opponent's turn 2 counterspell. Hopefully we just hit a land off the top like a forest and the rest of our time is easy after that. Alright, opponent gets their island. This island is not a snow island, so already that's wrong from what our opponent was doing last game. Alright, let's lead on Utopia Sprawl. We'll Utopia Sprawl on white. And again, if they counter a Bogle, we'll lose access to that white mana next turn. But I think it's worthwhile playing properly rather than just jamming out a creature, having the Utopia Sprawl countered, and then losing access to everything from that point forth. Alright, well that's pretty good for us. Our opponent spends another turn developing. Just developing blue mana. There's the Delver. We do brick on mana, it doesn't matter, so we can go ahead and play our Bogle. I'll just resolve the Cartouche of Solidarity right now, just to play around that curfew that our opponent could potentially have. We'll get our Warrior token. Alright, our opponent's Delver does not flip, casts a Ponder in their main phase. And we see a second copy of Delver of Secrets, a Mountain. So we get another turn to just do what we please. That's pretty good. Hey, look, a forest, fantastic for us. Unfortunately, I don't think we can utilize that super critically well. I'll go ahead and play the Ethereal Armor on the Bogle. Abundant Growth here. We'll see what we draw off the Abundant Growth. Maybe we can trip a 1-mana Aura. We do not. Still, we're pretty happy to attack here. I'm not interested in attacking with the Warrior token. It could get eaten up by like a Fire Blast or something. Should have played the Scout second main. Hopefully we don't get punished by that. Wow, and our opponent's Delvers fail to flip and we just take the match. That was a bit unfortunate. I'm unsure as to why it didn't flip game 1. Did they just not have any instants and sorceries in hand? They were looking to use the Brainstorm to, you know, draw 3, top 3 the cards in the library, maybe hit. It seems like maybe a little bit of tilt from my opponent's end and like premature concession, but they are facing the back of like a very, very big creature. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comment sections below. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you then.